Alright guys, here's the video for the review for the Chapter 8-9 test. Okay, so for these first set of problems, you're looking to use either sine or cosines, the law of sines or the law of cosines in your problem. So with that being said, sorry, this isn't cleared from whenever we did it in class. So let me clear it now. So in any case, just be aware that whenever you're using the law of sines and cosines, that you can only use them in particular cases. Let's talk about those two cases. So if we're using the law of sines, you have to have a triangle. One of the three cases, it has to be an angle, side, angle, 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 side, or a side, side, angle. And for cosines, it's either going to be side, 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 or side, angle, side. So make sure you identify which case you're given so you know which one to use. So for number one, we're given an angle, side, and a side in that order, or a side, side, angle. So in that case, we're going to want to be using the law of sines. So also, we're given angle C and side C, so we're probably going to want to start with that. Remember that the law of sines is sine of A over A is equal to sine of B divided by B is equal to sine of C divided by C, or you can say the same formula but with the reciprocal. So A, B, and C on top, sine A, sine B, sine C on the bottom. So in this case right here, so we have this part completed. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to say sine of 89 divided by 24. This is going to be equal to, now the only other information I have is this side over here, and I don't have this angle, so sine of B divided by 21. So I'm solving for sine of B. So first of all, I'm going to multiply the top here by 21 so that it will cancel here, but it also means I have to multiply it by 21 over here. So multiply by 21, multiply by 21. These are going to cancel, so I'm just going to have sine of B on that side. On the other side, I'm going to have 21 times by sine of 89 divided by 24. And then in order to get rid of the sine, to solve for B, I'm going to have to use a sine negative 1 on both sides. So sine negative 1, you could say. So B is going to be equal to sine negative 1, 21 times by sine of 89 divided by 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and in your calculator you can punch it in like that. So sine negative 1, 21 sine of 89 divided by 24, and I get 61.029, but we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so we'll just say 61. So this angle right here, 61 degrees. Okay, so then now that I have these two angles, I can find this angle right here. So A is going to be equal to 180 subtract 89 subtract 61. So my calculator, 81 subtract 89 subtract 61, and that's going to be equal to 30. So this one right here is 30 degrees. All that's left for me to find is side A. So let's use the law of sines one more time, but I'm solving for this part right here. So I'm going to say A divided by sine of 30 is equal to, we'll use C, so 24 divided by sine of 89. Note that I'm using the reciprocals of the equation. That's because I'm looking for the side. So I'm going to multiply this side by sine of 30 and this side by sine of 30. On the left side, it's going to cancel, and I'm just going to have A. But over here, I'm going to have 24 times by sine of 30 divided by sine of 89. And so if you punch that into your calculator, so 24 sine of 30 divided by sine of 89, I get 12 when rounded. So yeah, there you go. So this over here is going to be 12. Okay, so that one's solved for. Okay, so for part two, I have angle and an angle and a side in between them. So angle, side, angle. That's going to be the law of sines. So first of all, let's solve for if I have a side angle. If I have one where I have where I have two angles, it's really easy to find the third angle. So we're going to say B is equal to 180 subtract 42 subtract 51. So 180 subtract 42 subtract 51, and we're going to get 87. Okay, so that's pretty easy right there. So that's all. This one already solved for 87. Okay, now the law of sines. I know B and side B. So sine of 87 divided by, actually, I'm going to use the reciprocal equation. So I'm going to say 9 divided by sine of 87 is going to be equal to C divided by sine of 51 is equal to 42, A divided by, that's A divided by sine of 42. Okay, so I'm trying to find A and C. So let's start with this side right here. So I'm going to ignore this part and just look at this part right here. So if I ignore this right here, I'm just going to multiply this sine of 42. So multiply this by sine of 42, the top here, and the top here by sine of 42. Sine of 42 is going to cancel here. So I'll get A is equal to 9 times by sine of 42 divided by sine of 87. So A is going to be equal to, so we'll say 9 sine of 42 divided by sine of 87. So A is going to be equal to, I have 6.03, but we're just going to round to 6. And we'll do the same thing for this one right here. So we're trying to solve for C, so let's get rid of this in the denominator. So multiply the top here by sine of 51, which will cancel with that. But I'm going to multiply this part of the equation by sine of 51 as well, since I multiplied this one, the numerator over here, by sine of 51. So I'll get C is equal to 9 times by sine of 51 divided by sine of 87. And when I punch that in, so 9 sine 51 divided by sine of 87, I'm going to get 7 when rounded. Okay, so there's that right there. To example 3, we have a case of side, 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 so we're going to be using the law of cosines. So law of cosines says that a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc. Cosine of a, you can mimic this equation if you're looking for side b. So it would be b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2a C cosine of B. So just remember that pattern right there. So in any case, let's go ahead and just start with angle A. Let's solve for this one. So in this case, I'm going to start with using side A. So 30 squared is equal to 18 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 18 times by 17 and cosine of angle A. Okay, so I have this sorted out right here. I'm trying to solve for this variable right here. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract these two right here over here. So I'm going to subtract 18 squared. I'm going to subtract 17 squared as well. So 30 squared subtract 18 squared subtract 17 squared. And I get 287. So I get 287 is equal to, okay, so remember that I just moved these over there, so that's gone. I'm just going to multiply this out right here. So negative 2 times by 18 times by 17, I get negative 612. So negative 612 cosine of A. I'm going to divide by negative 612 on both sides. So I'll have cosine of A is equal to 287 negative divided by 612. And then to get rid of the cosine, I'm going to do cosine negative 1. So A is equal to cosine inverse of negative 287 divided by 612. So A is going to be equal to, so cosine inverse 287 divided by 612, and I get 117.966. So I'm going to round that up to 118. So we got 118 right there. Okay, let's use this formula one more time and solve for, we'll go with b right here. So if we're using b, then let's say we have, we're going to have to use 17. So 17 squared is equal to 18 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 18 times 30, and then cosine of angle B. We're going to follow the same process. We're going to subtract those over there. So 17 squared, subtract 18 squared, subtract 30 squared. And I get negative 935 equal to, I'm going to multiply these together. So negative 2 times 18 times by 30, and I get negative 1080, and then a cosine of b. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1080, so cosine of b is going to be equal to 935 divided by 1080. Note that I didn't use subtractions here because negative divided by negative is going to be positive, so those won't matter. And then I'll have cosine, or I'll have b. I'm going to use cosine inverse. It's going to be equal to cosine negative 1, 935 divided by 1080. So punch that into your calculator. So cosine inverse 935 divided by 1080. And I get 30.0326. I'm just going to round that up to 30. Okay, so now that I know this is 30, the other one's 118, C is going to be equal to 180 subtract 30 subtract 118. So 180 subtract 30 subtract 118, and this is going to be equal to 32 degrees. Okay, so that's that one solved for. All right, for number 4, we have a, looks like a side angle side. So going back up here, looks like we're going to be using law of cosines again, but in a kind of a different way because we know different sides and different angles. So I don't know these two angles. So I'm gonna first I'm gonna have to solve for this side over here. We're gonna have to solve for side A. So since we don't know it, a squared is going to be equal to 24 squared plus 21 squared minus 2 times 24 times by 21, and then we'll have a cosine of angle A, which is 61. You can just plug this into your calculator so long as you just use the square root of that. But what I like to do, we'll do this part first. So 24 squared plus 21 squared. That's going to be equal to 1017. And then I'll do this part for next right here. So negative 2 times 24 times by 21. And I get negative 1008, and then cosine of 61. So you can punch this into your calculator now if that's a little bit more simple for people to use. So we have the square root, don't forget the square root, of 1017 minus 1008, 1008, and then we have cosine of 61, and I get 22.98. We'll round that up to 23. So we have this side right here is 23, I guess you could say kilometers, for the units. Okay, and now we just need to find the one of the angles. We can use the law of cosines again. So let's say we want to solve for, I don't know, I guess we'll solve for cosine of b. You can just do the same process. So you'll say, as you did in the previous one, so 24 squared is going to be equal to 21 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 21 times by 23 cosine of b. We're going to subtract these two over on this side right here. So we'll say 24 squared minus 21 squared minus 23 squared, and we get negative 3 94 is equal to negative 2 times 21 times by 24. And we get, negative 1080. Oops, that's supposed to be 23. That's wrong. 23. Yeah, there we go. So we get negative 966. Cosine of b will divide, so we get cosine of b is equal to 394 divided by 966. And then b is going to be equal to cosine negative 1, 394 divided by 966. So that's going to be equal to 394 divided by 966. And I have 65.92. We're just going to round that up to be 66. Okay, so 66 degrees here. And now to find this last one right here, we'll do 180 subtract 61 subtract 66. And we get 53. Okay, so that's that triangle solved for. For for number 5, note that we have all 3 sides. If it makes you feel more comfortable, you can go ahead and draw a small diagram. Excuse me, as needed. So you can say 26, 16, or I don't know, I guess traditionally that'd be 13. This one would be 16. So this would be angle A. This would be angle B. This would be angle C. So you're trying to solve for the angles because this is a side case. So it'd be very similar to what you did in this one right here. So for the sake of time, not making this video too long, if you need help, you can just refer to my review key that's in Canvas. But yeah, it should be the exact same process that we did in 3. So I'm going to skip that one. Let's look at number 6 right here. So we have an angle. We have 2 angles. We have a side. So again, if you want to draw this out and see which case it is, I already know it's going to be a I already know that's going to be a law of sines because we have 2 angles. So you can just solve for C right away. But if you want to check out which case that we're using, so the angle there given is obtuse. So this is angle A. That's 122. We'll call this angle B. And this is 30 degrees. And then we have this side over here, which is 56. So this is a case of angle side. So yeah, you could see that that is a angle side is a law of sines. All right, so this one shouldn't be too bad. So to find the other, to find angle C, you're going to do 180 subtract 122 subtract 30. So 180 subtract 122 subtract 30. So you're going to get that's equal to 28. Okay, and then you can just set up a law of sines. So you know both angle A and side A, but you need to find the sides. So 56 divided by sine of 122 is going to be equal to C divided by sine of 28. And then this is going to be equal to B divided by sine of 30. So just to kind of just hurry past this, you can again ignore this side right here briefly to solve for B. You can multiply top here and top here by sine of 30. So B is equal to 56 sine of 30 divided by sine of 122. And then if you ignore this part right here and just focus on these 2 parts, you can multiply the top here by sine of 28, top here by sine of 28. So you get C is equal to 56 sine of 28 divided by sine of 122. And then you punch those into your calculators and should be good. Coming down here for 7 and 8, so I see that we have 1 angle. So if we have 1 angle and 2 sides, it's either going to be side angle or side angle side. So let's you can go ahead and draw a triangle to see which one it would be. Um, the side given to you is obtuse, so we'll say this is 123 right here. We have this side as 43 because that's angle C. We'll call this B, we'll call this A. So we don't know anything about A, but we know side B is going to be 33. So this looks like it's a side, side, and an angle. So since it's a side, side angle, that's going to be law of sines. So that's going to be very similar to what we did in number 1. So side, side angle, you can follow the same exact process that we did here. And you can solve this one if you guys need help getting started. So since I know both C, you can start with that. So you can say sine of 123 divided by 43 is equal to, it might be better if you use the sides. So we'll do 43 divided by sine of 123, and that's going to be equal to, since you don't know anything about A, you have to use B. Oh, no, I had it right the first time. You're going to want to use the angles on top. It really doesn't matter anyways. You'll just use cross multiplication if you have your unknown variable on the denominator, but this just kind of makes it a little bit simpler. So sine of 123 divided by 43 is equal to sine of B divided by 33 multiplied by 33. So you have sine of B is equal to 33 sine of 123 divided by 43, and then you use a sine inverse, sine of -1, and then 33 sine 123 divided by 43, and that will give you angle B. And then whenever you have angle B, you can find angle A. When you have angle A, because you'll have two angles, you can find angle A, and then you can use law of sines one more time to find side A. Okay, and for number 8, we have one angle and two sides right here. So again, this is going to be one of these two, so side, side angle, or it's going to be a side angle side. So if you draw a triangle, if you do that, you'll just see that it's a side angle side. So that's going to be the law of cosines, which was what we did in example 4. So you can refer to that one if you need help on that. And then for number 9, it's a story problem. So a triangular playground has side lengths of 475 feet, 595 feet, and 401 feet. So with that being said, it says what are the measures of the angles between the sides. So you should be able to just set something up really, really quick. Just draw some sides of a triangle. Doesn't have to be the scale or anything. So, and then you can just assign whatever, 475, you have 595, and 401. So, and that's just asking to find the angles between these sides right here. Since we have all the sides, it would be an example of a side, 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 which means you can just use the law of cosines. So, just use the law of cosines to find the angles between them. Okay, and I guess I'll finish with this one, and then I'm going to do a separate video that covers the graphing. So we'll finish with this example here. So find the area of each triangle to the nearest tenth. So here you're given the equation. This is the area of a triangle of a obtuse. It doesn't have to be obtuse, but a triangle where you're given a side angle side case. So side angle side, you can use this equation right here to find the area. So the area is going to be equal to 1/2 of one of your sides. So we'll say 9.5, and then the other side, multiply those together. Doesn't matter which order, and then sine of the angle in between them, which is 124. So this one is, you just punch that into your calculator, and if you do that, you'll get 39.4 feet squared. Okay, so that should wrap up 9.3 and 9.4 information. The rest of this is going to be the graphing, so I'll do that in another separate video.